Welcome everyone. I think we are still more people joining, which is great. My name is Andreas Busa. I'm a sustainability officer at EASA, and I have the pleasure to be the moderator of today's webinar. In my work, I focus mainly on sustainable aviation fuels, which maybe a lot of people already heard about. And I basically support the agencies endeavors in this field and act as the focal point for SAF. Yeah, I welcome you all to this EU Green Week partner event. As some of you might know, the EU Green Week is an annual event by the European Commission to raise awareness and to promote and discuss European environmental policy. EASA this year decided to associate with the EU Green Week as the aviation industry has a key role, of course, to play when it comes to mitigating climate change and sustainability. This year happens to be the European Year of Skills. And the question is, of course, what do we need to make aviation greener? We need people and we need talent to do this. Here at EASA, we notice that more and more the industry is having difficulties in recruiting new people. And the question is, of course, is aviation still appealing? What makes people join aviation? Are difficulties in recruiting just a trend that affects other areas requiring highly qualified people? And what are the new needed skills? And in order to answer those questions, the webinar, we decided to split the webinar into 3 parts that promise hopefully to spark some reflection, a good discussion, and hopefully many questions from you, the audience. We will start off with a quick video interview that we did with 3 aviation generations. We will follow that with a live panel discussion with a representation of different aviation sectors, and then we close it off with questions and answers from the viewers. So as I said, we will start it off with a video of 4 brief interviews that we have conducted in the last week. We wanted to run a little experiment by putting the same 4 questions to each person with 3 different profiles in aviation. The questions were inspired by this webinar subject, of course, and the persons interviewed were, well, given free room, of course, for answer without any constrictions. And so I hand it over to Vera to start the video, and I hope it will show good for you. Thank you.
Aviation has traditionally been a world for passionate people, and I think today more than ever it has still the potential to give sense of purpose to young people.
I wanted to join aviation because I grew up close to an airport, so I was always there to see the airplanes, to see the passengers, and what I did is see all the people leaving and coming, so a lot of emotions.
I was traveling a bit when I was young. Between France and Spain. Whenever I was in the airport, I could just feel the fascination, and I wanted to really work in an aviation. Regarding sustainability, it was a COP21. For me, was a game changer, and I really see the potential of working in sustainability in aviation.
Attractiveness in pursuing an aviation decreasing from different factors such as the beautiful global network, career opportunities, and of course because it is an industry that is always looking for development, improvement, ways to get better. There was one event that shaped my decision. I attended an university fair in my high school, and I went to a pilot's career informative station, and the way he talked to us, his passion and his enthusiasm was what nudged me towards this direction.
The green transition for aviation will have to be based on new technologies such as electrification and hydrogen or new fuels. And for that, we will need to tap into expertise that is today not necessarily sufficiently there in our aviation system.
I looked for my first job in the COVID period, in the first period, and so there were little job opportunities anyways, but the other problems I faced were that job descriptions were usually not matching my expectations, and also that the requirements were usually very restrictive.
Whenever you're in university, you don't know all the career path that you can have. I knew that I wanted to really dedicate myself to sustainability aviation, but I didn't know really what were the positions and the jobs that you could apply for.
I'm confident the challenges are getting lower compared to previous years. I know that there is many offers in the market. It depends on what path I would like to follow. My invitation maybe would be to improve this connection between organizations. Maybe having a sort of mentorship program would help us as students to understand what kind of path we would like to follow.
I think aviation has always been and is still today in competition with other interesting either transportation modes or technical domains. And young people of today making a choice of career have plenty of fantastic opportunities in front of them. It's a fantastic time to take on board such a challenge for young engineers, for technically minded people, because we will need aviation and we will need a green aviation in the future.
Aviation offers a variety of jobs, so from strategy over manufacturing to something really operational or research, everything is in aviation. But I think that it's usually hard to find something that really matches your expectations, because the jobs are published with not real job descriptions and maybe also unreal expectations for every job.
I was in an engineering school. The program was very much based on whatever were the working positions that were already existent. So not so much focus on what's next and what's coming in the industry. And it's really interesting and I really invite everyone to try to identify what's next in our industry, in aviation industry, what are the new jobs that we'll be developing.
Younger generations have a stronger mindset towards environment, and I know many people that were afraid of joining the aviation industry just because they thought that it was very negative in this field. And as an aviation management student, I do know that this kind of job opportunities exist in the market. However, I do think that they target very specialized individuals, so it would be very interesting opening these opportunities to students of my generation, and not only aviation students, because I know there is many people that would like to join these kind of programs.
Be particularly careful about the type of company and the type of job which is being offered. And there are many aviation stakeholders and industrial players who are very serious about the green transition, who have lots of programs active, and there is a lot to do in this area. So I think it's a matter of finding the right domain, the right company, and the right type of job.
Not only really target the people which are perfect for that job, because it might be that also other people with other backgrounds might be incredibly interested and knowledgeable for that position. So be open.
The younger generations tend to have more flexible career. They will be changing positions probably in over a long career. So this openness to try to attract talent and not necessarily 10 years of skill in a particular domain is extremely important. Having also career paths, so that people feel motivated to try to stick to an organization for many years.
My advice would be to be transparent, communicative, and to have a better exposure on job opportunities, and of course to target high school students. There is where you can spark the curiosity in younger generations, and maybe in the future have even more people than you have right now.
All right. I hope it worked fine for everyone. It was good for me. I think this is a nice introduction to our discussions ahead. For me personally as well, especially last question, since before joining EASA almost 4 years ago, I had no background in aviation whatsoever. I'm an environmental scientist by training, so for me it worked out quite well. So before we start into the discussion, maybe some quick information for the question answer session. We can submit questions via Slido. You should find it at the bottom right corner of the WebEx session. You can enter your question there by either adding your name, or you can also do it anonymously. We will take the questions at the end. And if you have questions for a specific speaker, please indicate to whom the question is directed. That would definitely help me a lot. So before we go into it for now, let's start to do a quick test to ensure it works for everyone, and also to get to know our audience better, which of course also helps the panelists. I think Weber will start off with the questions now, and I hope it works for everyone. So we have manufacturer companies. Oh no, it's clicking right and back for me. So we have a lot of people from Belgium, Spain, Italy, France, Germany, Netherlands, and a lot of other countries as well. So great. Azerbaijan, UK. All right, so it seems to work. That's great. So to join us on this discussion, we have a great lineup of panelists that represent a fantastic cross-section of the aviation industry. So each sector, of course, has different approaches and challenges when attracting and retaining young talent to the aviation professions. So I will let each of them briefly introduce himself, and add maybe in a few words what sector they represent and what work they are conducting. And I would start off with Rebekka van der Grift. So, and if it works for you guys, yes, camera on would be awesome. Thank you.
Hi, can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. Yeah, hi, I'm Rebekka. I'm a PhD student at the Delft University of Technology. I did my bachelor's and master's at the Faculty of Aerospace Engineering here at the Delft University of Technology as well. And I started my PhD in the specific topic of aircraft noise. So this is a very fitting subject for this conference and this panel. Yeah, I'm really excited to see how all the other industries try to retain this talent, because at the university is always there's a great inflow but also a great outflow of talent, unfortunately.
That's right. All right, thank you, Rebekka. Moving on to Arpad Szakal. I hope I pronounced it correctly.
We can't hear you.
The most used sentence in 2020 and 2021 was the "you're still on mute," and
That's
yeah.
cool. That's right.
I'm an aviation lawyer by background. That's what I studied, and I at Leiden University in the Netherlands, and I practiced for about 3-4 years in London, predominantly in the field of EU regulatory, Regulation 261, delays, cancellations, denied boardings, and all the rest. And then later transitioned into executive search and an assessment, which I've been doing for coming up to 10 years. It's senior level search, what we do, sort of director, VP and above, predominantly in the aviation, aerospace, transportation sectors. We're based in London and Paris, but what we do is quite global. We work mainly outside of Europe. So that's me.
Okay, great. Thank you. I would move it on to Kim Lewington.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Thank you. So my name's Kim Lewington. I work for a charity in the UK called Fly to Help. It's an aviation charity. My background started in air traffic control. At the age of 16, I went on a very short work experience scheme. Absolutely loved aviation when I was introduced to it, and stayed in it for 40 years, just retired from it, but volunteering for Fly to Help and also the Aviation League. My role was to develop schemes to get youngsters as young as 5 up to the age of 18 excited about aviation and show them opportunities of what's out there. So we did this at Fly to Help by introducing taster days, where week-long schemes where students would come to the airport for either a week or a day, and we'd show them in the hangars. We'd also go outside and visit big aerospace companies and show them everything there is, which I do feel is important. If they can see something and it excites them, that's where, you know, from a younger age, that's where they can join the aviation. So recently volunteered for the Air League, seeing quite a difference in the attitude of teenagers and where they want to go with their career path. You mention aviation and all you get is the excitement about being a pilot, but there's a lot more that we all know to aviation. And again, with that sort of age category, there is a concern about the sustainable issue as well. So we're keen as a charity to sort of show a lot of teenagers what sustainable career paths there are as well.
Great, thank you. Moving on to Alexandre de Joybert.
Yes, hello, Andreas. Hello, everyone. So I'm Alexandre de Joybert. I'm responsible for the coordination of all aspects of the of ACI Europe's sustainability strategy. ACI Europe is the association representing the European airports. We have like 500 over than 500 members across 55 countries in Europe. So it's broader than just the EU. As part of my role, I mean, I monitor the administration and ongoing evolution of the global carbon standards for airports, airport carbon accreditation, which is the only institutionally endorsed global carbon management certification program, which belong to ACI Europe. And basically, as airports, since we are the entry points between aviation and the regions and the passenger we serve. Obviously, we have a key role to play in leading the sector's environmental transition by reducing CO2 emissions from airports' own sources as much as possible, but also more broadly in influencing the stakeholders, other stakeholders active within our footprints to engage in climate action. So indeed, I mean, yeah, and I guess we will discuss that further in the discussion. But yeah, sustainability is at the core of the aviation industry at the moment, and certainly for the next decades. And I think all players, I mean, be airlines, we often think about airlines, but also obviously the manufacturers, the airports, also the traffic controllers. So yeah, very happy to be on this panel to discuss further what we do in terms of sustainability and how this can attract talents also in our industry.
Great, thanks a lot. And last but definitely not least, Antoine Toulemont. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Andreas. I hope you can hear me well.
Yeah.
Antoine Toulemont, indeed, I have a background of aviation engineer, which led me to work for EASA back in 2015 as a trainee for a few months. So many thanks to host this very interesting conference. In my background, I've worked a lot in Brussels. Before I was working for national administration, and just before I was working for the European Commission, DG Move, in the Aviation Directorate, and very recently I moved to the private sector, where I am now the European international advisor for a company which is called Aero, and Aero is an aircraft manufacturer which is designing and producing two categories of aircraft. The first category, which is a two-seater training aircraft, which is full electric, and there is a thermic version, but also full electric, and a regional aircraft of 19 seats, which would be hybrid electric, so electric propulsion, but with a fully 100% sustainable aviation fuel compatible turbine at the rear of the aircraft. So I will explain maybe during the roundtable what we are looking for. Maybe just very quick words. What is the core value of Aero is basically to start with the low end of the air transport, because this is the easiest way to get like changes very quickly. So this is to bring to the regional air market, which is mainly flights under 500 kilometers, an aircraft that is at the same time cheap to operate, but which is also energy efficient. And this is to bring an aircraft that could fit in the energy forecast of EU countries, so that we can be sure that it can already be fitted into the energy grid. And the goal is indeed to put the regional all the regional air traffic into the correct path in terms of Paris Agreement. So I was very happy to hear the introduction video, because I heard Rachel and some of the students talking about very valuable points that we fully share as well. So looking forward for the discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Okay, without further ado, so let's start. So how I would like to do is I would like to ask each panelist the questions one by one. But if any other member of the panel would like to add a comment to any of the questions of the other panelists, please don't hesitate to do so, because it's supposed to be discussion. So you can just raise your hand and then, of course, speak after that. So I would start with Arpad, if that's okay. So the reputation of the aviation industry as a source of pollution, just to name flight shame as a word that I guess everyone knows, affecting the recruitment of today's, is it affecting the recruitment of today's more environmentally conscious young people? Do you have any opinion about that?
Yeah, not only opinion, but some feedback on it. It's really. I do quite a bit of guest lecturing with universities like Cranfield and Embry-Riddle, who are very aviation specific. They have beyond the aerospace engineering programs, they have things like MBA for specifically for the aviation industry. And what I'm seeing is that those people who are finishing those programs are looking at the industry as just one of the options that are out there. They're looking into things like the renewable the renewable energy space, particularly onshore, offshore wind. Those are, I mean, obviously you're not taking off, but it's same or similar sort of skills that are needed from a technical standpoint, better remunerated, more future driven or future focused. And even the 18, 20, 25-year-olds are, or I would say especially the 18 to 25-year-old sort of cohort are incredibly savvy, and they're asking very sort of tricky questions, basically, in terms of what is my future looking like there? What will I become if I join this organization? And if you, as an organization, doesn't have a good enough answer to them, then you're going to lose out on some very technically solid talent. So that's the issue the industry is facing, that it's competing with sectors or subsectors that it hasn't previously competed with.
So do you think that the other industries are doing it better in attracting and retaining young people in their field, and why?
They are not doing it better. They are just doing it differently. And I think it's not only remuneration, not only money, but I think in terms of storytelling, they have a better story to tell. They have a more relatable sort of story to tell when it comes to really the future, how you make a difference beyond making money for the organization, basically, and how you can really be part of something that is a little bit bigger than just your role for the next year or two, basically.
So what would you say is like, what new career opportunities does the aviation industry then have to offer for young people, especially, of course, interested in sustainability and the environment?
I think the key here is to get people sufficiently engaged on the long run. It's one thing to get people through the door. I think that's what I'm seeing on a day-to-day basis, and then have them join you. But I think the bigger issue is retention. Are you going to be able to keep them there for more than the 1 or 2 years? And I think it's really coming up with internal practices in terms of training, development, in terms of getting them exposed to different sides of the business, getting them on the field, getting them to travel, meet various stakeholders. I think you need to think about it long and hard these days, how you actually engage the existing workforce. I think that's the key here. Luring people in, especially those who just graduated, I think that's one thing, but keeping them is an even bigger challenge from what I'm seeing.
All right, great. I think that is a great transition to my question for Rebekka. Maybe maybe you can share your own experience, because I guess, for example, what made you decide getting into the noise topic, which maybe isn't the first topic that comes to mind of people's mind when talk about sustainability in aviation, because it is related, of course, to sustainability in aviation, although it's not reducing greenhouse gas emissions, but noise, of course, is an important topic as well.
Yeah, it's indeed interesting, and it wasn't the first topic I thought of when I started my studies in aerospace. I always thought I wanted to design aircraft or stuff like that. But it only became interest for me when I did an internship at the airport itself, and where you could see the actual problems, the societal problems that are affecting the communities around the airport, which is of course a lot of the air quality problems, but also noise. And you could really see the impact that it's making, but also the effort that the airports, the airlines, and the air traffic control is putting in to mitigate these factors. Oh, well, and I became so enthusiastic that I just decided to continue this path and start a PhD in this topic, to really try to improve what we have now in noise control with the models and the measurements. Yeah, I'm still very, very excited about the subject, and I see it as well in my colleagues here at the faculty, but also at Schiphol Airport, that they're really passionate about trying to improve the world. And I think every PhD or every academic is trying to do that, improving the world. But at this position, I feel like I actually have a chance to do that. And I think that's what's also coming back at the previous question. I think that's also something that maybe these other sectors tell the better story. You want to improve the world, come work in offshore engineering, while the aviation sector also needs a lot of improving. Maybe we could reshape working for an aviation sector is like in that case, in that subject. But yeah.
So do you think that the universities are doing enough to inspire young students to sign up to study aerospace engineering or science?
So aerospace engineering, I think yes, because it's still a very exciting topic. It's complex, it's challenging. And what I see here at the university is that a lot of projects are more being focused towards sustainability, in like more efficient aircraft or hydrogen or electric aircraft. But what I do notice is that even though the projects are there, it is not going as fast as the industry wants, maybe. That we don't have hydrogen specialists graduating from the university. It's still aerospace engineering, and we learn the basics with the turbofan engines and the classics. Yeah.
So
Yes.
which already brings me to the other question, which you basically answered already. I guess the pace of the green technology development will only increase in the next years and decades. So maybe the schools and universities need to follow this high space, right, by reviewing, updating their curricular in alignment with the needs of industry, right?
Yeah, definitely. I do see it happening. That, for example, that there are being AI courses being added, which is of course also new, and that they're really trying. But it's of course also difficult because you need professors and you need lecturers that are specialized in these topics. So then you come back to the old problem: how do you attract those people at your university so they can teach the youngsters? It's a bit of a vicious cycle, I think.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, agree. I just saw that a question came on via Slido, so that's great. And also just a reminder, so please add your questions as much as you want, and we will have a look at them in the end. So talking about industry and maybe guest professors at universities, to Antoine and maybe also to Alexandre to comment on, because you are the two people directly from the industry. So one of the ways to reach the maximum of 1.5 degrees Celsius target will of course be the adoption of novel green technologies, and to enable such adoption by the industry, I guess innovators like Aero need to find and develop new skills on an already tight labor market. So maybe you can talk a little bit on how you address this challenge at Aero.
Yeah, thank you for the question, for the very good question. I think first, if you want to indeed reach talented people, motivated students, it's indeed about the narrative, and it's about being transparent, honest about the challenges that you need to overcome. I mean, we cannot like overpromise or mentioning that there will be just one key technology that will solve it all and save the world basically and cut all CO2 emissions in aviation. It's more like a basket of measures. There is of course no silver bullet. And we need to be also very clear of what we can achieve and when. Also, like timelines need to be, of course, you need to set a level of ambition, but you also need to be clear of what you can do. I mean, there is what you can build as a prototype, and EASA, I think you know it very well, what you can certify in order to put it on the market. And these are two really different jobs. Like doing a prototype, make it fly, that's one thing, but to certify it and like have it open on the market, it's another, it's a total different job, and it's a full-time job as well. So I think first we need to we need to share that we are facing a future where we will have a lot of demand on energy. We are in aviation, a very energy demanding sector. So what we need at the moment, we need like vehicles overall in transport, but more especially in aviation, like aircraft that are very energy efficient, that are the most optimized in terms of aerodynamics, but also electric consuming wise, where we know that we can insert these aircraft on the energy grid without like without like getting energy from other sectors. So we need to be aware what we can get and what we can provide to the aircraft. So by this, I think it's already one big step to also to get students motivated to work for us. And then maybe the other thing is like something I can see is like we do. Like it's not something to just to witness, like we can make a prototype flight. No, we are really into the industrialization process. Like we are not interested in just flying a prototype and say, oh, you see, it's possible. No, we are really in the mind of producing it, certifying it, producing it. We already have like strong competencies to do so, but of course we need more workforce in order to put the production line to work. So these two aspects, I think this is what brings attraction. And maybe a last one is the size of the company. We are about 200 employees at the moment. It's a medium, we could say like a medium size company. And it's really great to work. I mean, it's really like you have a lot of autonomy. There is a lot of motivation. They are great people. Honestly, I met them all. They are all great people. So it's really like we have a very nice mix of people who wants to do and really like have an impact on CO2 reduction. So very enthusiastic. It is.
Thank you.
Yes. Yeah, Andreas, I'm happy to indeed like follow Antoine's comments. I mean, I'm aligned with what he said in terms of the excitement and the challenges that are actually currently as part of our industry, and I think actually this is what I mean. These challenges are what makes it exciting to work for us and to work on the sustainability issues of our industry. I mean, if you just look a bit back, I mean, obviously the aviation has been for a long time an industry that any young people dreamed about, and it was also mentioned in the video you showed. I mean, this was mainly due to the appeal of a sector that that was closely linked to ambition, to innovation, technology, engineering, travel, and discovery. Well, basically, all these elements haven't fade away. I mean, they should be still there, but I think unfortunately the conversation around aviation has been drawn towards only the elements of pollution, which are key and important and should be tackled. But anyway, the aviation industry remains very dynamic in terms of innovations, in terms of developments, and tackling the main issues that are of crucial importance for everyone, to tackle the climate change, basically. So we tend to now a bit put aside the socio-economic benefits that our industry is providing, which basically concern the economic growth, providing jobs still, and then as you mentioned, we're still looking for a lot of people to join our industry, and the promotion of social inclusion through air transport as well, and facilitating the the delivery of emergency and humanitarian aid relief anywhere on Earth. But actually recently we also conducted we have a leadership and HR forum actually that we set up a few years ago within ACI Europe, and we conducted a survey not so long ago to understand basically the understanding of sustainability in aviation, how it did resonate among our employees and people at airports. And basically nowadays, I mean, people connect sustainability more with environmental than social and economic, which is quite interesting, and actually I think makes it a great opportunity to rekindle the magic of aviation towards younger generations, to re-anchor the pillars that made aviation such a success and an attractive sector. I mean, aviation is certainly one of the most fantastic industries to work into when it comes to sustainability. And I mentioned the aviation indeed spurs innovation when it comes to sustainability. Be it, and it was mentioned also by Antoine, I mean, the challenges to accessing to renewable and low carbon fuel energies, and be it electric, hydrogen developments of renewable and other low carbon alternative fuels as well. There are a lot of improvements, and again, Antoine is a good example. I mean, the improvements in aircraft and engine technologies, also improvements in air traffic management and aircraft operations are really helping and supporting the movement toward more sustainable industry. And overall, I mean, the whole industry is somehow reinventing itself. So this is kind of exciting to join at this moment. So, I mean, new aircraft powered by alternative fuels, and also a new role for airports actually. And now I'm preaching a bit for airports, but with the expected developments and the new needs for aviation, I mean, airports will no longer only look at aeronautical capacity and connectivity, but we'll also look at clean energy capacity and deployment of this energy. So be it biomass, green electricity, SAF, green hydrogen. And this actually will not just be for the airports and its users, but we are also now looking at making the airport basically an airport where the energy produced and then developed and deployed on the airport will also benefit to the communities around it. So if we just take the example of green hydrogen, for instance, so obviously now we are looking at towards 2035, or if we look at Airbus planning for an aircraft with green hydrogen that is shared on the market. Well, basically this will have this will need airports also to invest and develop and give access to green hydrogen. But well, this green hydrogen can also be used not only for the aircraft, but then the idea is also to look a bit forward and how this can also benefit to the communities around the airport. This includes maybe using this green hydrogen for cars, for the buses of the city nearby. So I mean, there is a lot of developments in our industry that are very closely related to sustainability, which basically is key for our industry, because it's also our we are playing here our license to operate, and not only to grow but really to operate. So this is taken very seriously by our industry.
So maybe follow up for you as well, Alexandre. So what do you think can the aviation industry actually do then to community those commitments to sustainability, environmental sustainability in this case, and attract the young people, and maybe also and Antoine can also add afterwards, or the others, of course, everyone can.
Sure, no, that's a good question, and I think we also need to think about it internally. Yeah, because we are very well aware to what we are doing and what are our credentials in terms of sustainability initiatives and actions. But what is obvious to us in the industry is not so obvious to industry outsiders. So I think there are maybe three elements that we can raise here to ensure that we communicate better on what we do on sustainability issues. I would say first, indeed, raising public awareness of existing initiatives and the major successes already achieved. I mean, as airports, so we developed already, and it's not known yet by a lot of outsiders, but basically, airport carbon accreditation program was created. Basically aims at recognizing airports' efforts in decarbonizing their operations. It was launched already in 2009, and it started with 17 European airports, and now we just had last year announced that there are more than 500 airports now committed, and not only committed but certified in this program, so decarbonizing their operation. And this is not only for Europe, but now it's across 87 countries globally. So I mean, in a bit more than 10 years, we've seen the different airports from 17 airports at European level to now more than 500 airports engaged at world level. So these are some concrete activities. I mean, now there's also the commitments to net zero. And actually, as part of this airport carbon accreditation program I just mentioned, we're now working to develop this the recognition of an airport's net zero. And this is taking a bit some time to make sure we indeed are really we are clear on what we mean by net zero. What is we don't want to be accused of greenwashing. This is not the purpose, but we also need to be clear on what we are doing, and these are some of the activities. And again, maybe just to also still on this raising awareness, there are a lot of sustainability measures that are concrete sustainability measures implemented that needs to be communicated. I mean, who is aware about the fact that airports like Athens, for instance, is covering 100% of its electricity needs only using photovoltaic produced on the airport. Same for Vienna airports has the largest Austrian photovoltaic plant, or Heathrow, setting up dozens of millions of staff incentive program to cover for the difference of cost between sustainable aviation fuel and Jet A. And again, Milan or Lyon working on hydrogen project. I mean, there are a lot of activities implemented. So I mean, first maybe, and I will be short for the next two ones, but maybe first raising awareness of what we do. I mean, this is crucial to inform people of what the industry is doing. I think the second one, and this is more related to HR. I mean, I think it's like sustainability topic must be embedded in the airport's HR management model. I mean, and our chair of environmental strategy committee at ACI Europe is once said that she will only consider her mission to be accomplished when there won't be a need for a sustainability department within her organization. Why? Because the sustainability first approach would have merged or trickled down to every single department, and this is actually what we're aiming at. I mean, it's good that we have head and directors of sustainability, but ideally there shouldn't be any need for that. I mean, hopefully in a few years, indeed, every department in our industry and in any other industries actually should be, should embed this sustainability mindset. And finally, yeah, this also goes with actually HR. Maybe it's also supporting building strong and committed leadership. And we conducted also a survey a few months ago that showed that despite the issues with COVID, and that we're still recovering from COVID, I mean, sustainability remains a top priority for airport CEOs. And obviously, again, in addition to the environmental purpose, it's also because they are very well aware that this is the only way to protect our license to operate. So yeah, those would be the 3 points.
Thank you. sure, Antoine, whether you have anything to add. Otherwise, I have a specific question for you as well.
Yeah, I will add something short, and maybe if somebody else here wants to come in, they can. No, well, first just to say that I also fully share what Alexandre just said. That's 100% true. We need indeed to communicate clearly what we do and what are the solutions that can be done right now, that the solution can be done in the short term, and which one are for more like the medium and long term. I think so. Alexandre brilliantly explained what can be done at airports and what the EASA Europe is doing, and they're doing a lot. So it's so great. Like you see like on I think it's on almost on a daily occasions what they do at major airports. In Brussels Zaventem, for instance, they just released the plan in Paris Orly as well, of how they committed to the net zero or to very low level of carbon emissions at airports. So already it's something you can see at airport that it's taken very seriously. Now in the aircraft manufacturer part and in the airline part, I mean we know for the, so again we can distinguish like what we have, like what we can explain as regional air mobility, but between regional airports and between regional airports to major hubs. This is what we will be able to see before 2030, like hybrid electric aircraft and hydrogen aircraft between 20 to between 19 to 40, even to 50 seats. But more like 2030 we will see like 19 seats. It's almost a certainty. 40 seats will come probably like few years later. So that is like either like aircraft that are in the a path set by the COP21 agreements, the Paris Agreement, and by also the what we call at the international level, we call the LTAG, the long-term aspiration goals that was adopted by the industry at what we call ICAO, the International Convention for Civil Aviation. So these aircraft, they will put the regional air traffic into the correct paths, and we know that there will be a huge appeal on fleet renewal, which is not the case for the whole aviation, but for the specific aviation, we have identified already the incentives, and we know that operating this aircraft will be less costly than it is now. And now for the rest of it, for like single legs and long haul aircraft, well, we need to be clear that there will be a transition period where the sustainable aviation fuel will make the job. Sustainable aviation fuel, it's reducing, like on the whole chain of the fuel, it's reducing by 80% of CO2 emission in the full use of such kind of fuels. And then from 2040 until 2050, then this is where we will start to see like on single legs and later on after 2050 on long haul aircraft like hydrogen powered aircraft, probably in that type of operations. But indeed, yeah, just to conclude, well, that should be clear for everyone what to expect in different categories of air transport. But in the meantime, it is fully true that we have to communicate everywhere. I mean, at airports, by airlines, and we need again to be also very transparent. I mean, there is no shame to say that it will be a challenge. It's not impossible, but it will be a challenge. There will be many barriers to lift still. But we will go for it, and we will do it.
Thank you. So maybe a little bit different question for you as well, since you have a policy background a little bit. So I guess there, of course, could be the risk that the green transition in the EU could be slowed down by not having access or not finding the sufficient skills and talents. So do you think that from the EU policy perspective, more actions should be taken in this regard?
Yes, I think so. So policy action. Well, Yes, I think we need to be careful that we keep our leading edge on technologies in on the at the EU level. This is because like we see, well, you see industrial players and at the EU level nowadays, like huge discussions about, oh look, the US is doing the Inflation Act, the RIR, Inflation Reduction Act, sorry, and us in the EU, we do basically nothing. So there is today like a kind of this like this proportion where it seems that the US is doing a lot of like tax reduction, incentivization toward new technologies in the US. They are also investing a lot on green hydrogen, especially for aviation. So what we need to do at EU level, it's a policy level that is not directly linked to students and to talents, but it has for me a direct link. What we need to have as a policy, we need to make sure that at EU level we have the right tools and the right funds as well to make sure that we will success in the industrialization of this new aircraft, because I don't think it will motivate like new talents and emerging students in aerospace if we are to do in Europe only prototypes. I mean, there are students that want to have an impact, that wants to be useful either in production or in design, but they want to be sure that their solution that they have developed will be on the market and will like really flowing in the market. So it's very important that in the EU we take the right policies, and this is what we are advocating for as Aero, to make sure that we have also the funding capabilities, even in equity, also to make sure that the private funds and financing sector is also on board. But we need to have these tools to make sure that the plants, the engineering offices stays in the EU and bring the EU the full industrial power that it has now. So.
Okay, thank you. I would move it to Kim now. So what do you think, how has the discussion of climate change and its impact on the environment affected the conscious of young people today, the people that you meet in your work?
Yeah, it's been a really interesting hearing you all talk actually, but as I said before, we used to do schemes from sort of age 14 up to the age of 18, and it was mainly people that sort of wanted to just come into the industry as a pilot or engineer, very vague, and we would show them all the different areas. It's only since COVID I've noticed a real difference of people's sort of attitudes towards the environment. But it's interesting in talking to quite a few teenagers a few weeks ago and asking the questions of what does the industry, what's the key challenges it faces. They came out with sustainable aviation fuel, hydrogen, electric, but they couldn't really expand on what they meant or where that information was coming from. So I do think raising awareness of everything that's going on, not just in the fuels and everything else, but even at airports. We're talking about airports, but there is a difference, and I think we as an organization need to move forward as well and stay aware of what there is. So how our schemes have worked is that we've taken students to airports, we've shown them what there is, but we've got people to open doors, and I think this is the key now, is if it can happen at all, is aviation companies opening their doors to students even as young as sort of 7 or 8. If you think about it, a 10-year-old now is going to be leaving school in 2031. It's not a long time, but if you can start encouraging them and opening the doors now. In Gloucestershire, we're very lucky with all the aerospace industries we have. And only down the road, we've got a 19-seat hydrogen-powered aircraft that's just currently done test flights. But I saw on LinkedIn, they opened their doors to a scout group the other day, and they're making paper airplanes, throwing them around a hangar, but also having a fun day, but using what's going on with the aviation industry and the future of it, but making it fun. And those children will remember it. I mean, your interview at the beginning with the students, it's because they went to an airport, they saw something fascinating. And Rebekka's story is the same. She saw something in aviation and she didn't go down the route that a lot of the majority of children are going at the moment. Oh, I want to fly that plane. She saw a different angle. So people like Rebekka going out to schools, talking to students, saying that there's a lot more than flying a plane. I think that's we need to make them aware. We believe that if we can get to the careers teachers and excite them about the industries and what's out there, or get to the parents and get the parents in on open days, the conversation will then continue when they go home. And also, I don't know how it works outside the UK, but graduate schemes, internships and apprenticeships. And it's also remembering not everybody and every child has the opportunity to go to university, but they are amazing children, amazing students, and they have a lot to offer. So things like apprenticeships from age 16 as well are valuable, because we've found that it's those people, actually, if you get them in younger, are the ones that want to stay with the company, especially if there's incentives on offer like we talked about earlier.
So maybe you answered that already a little bit, I guess, but based on your experience, what do you think what aspects of aviation technology, engineering, science, I guess today spark the most curiosity among young people? Like you already mentioned hydrogen. I guess that's of course very exciting. Maybe you have more experience on that.
Yeah, the funny thing is, it's actually, we always find it's back to basics. So we have a box of wooden aircraft, fuselage, wings, wheels, and nuts and bolts. And for the youngsters, when you ask them, you know, we've done marshalling, we've done lots of airport aviation activities, we've talked about engineering, about flying, but the one thing that a lot of the younger ones enjoy the most is the building planes. And I think it's getting back to the children about the sort of basics of sustainable aviation. I think for some of them, what they're seeing online is already down the line, and they're finding it hard to understand. And I struggle to keep up with the industry and what's on offer every day and what's available. So I think, again, treat children remembering that cool is good if they see it and it's cool and it's something to play with. In the UK, we have the Royal Aeronautical Society hold events like the Cool Aeronautics, and it's an event held at one sector where all the different areas of aviation, aerospace industries come together, and they bring their best gadgets and everything else. And that, I've never seen a group of children and parents as excited as they are on those sort of days. So I think what's out there now, which I struggle to keep up with because there's so much, is maybe once a year, sort of one big event in cities or at airports, hold an event with all the companies around and show everybody what there is, because once they've seen it, it stays in their head. It's planting the seeds. It's always planting the seeds from a very young age.
So what do you think in a personal opinion question, right? What ways can young people interested in the environment make a positive impact within the aviation industry? What would you say to that?
I think they need to work out what's out there, but talking to them now, they're just not aware of where they can go. So they might want to study aerospace engineering, but as Rebekka said, is it still engineering? Do they know where to go from that stage? It's the not known. That's how I see it. They don't know where they can go with the industry, because they need somebody to say, this is now available, this is available. But I think people need to keep going into universities, doing lots of career. The industry needs to attend careers events, which is hard with the resources that all these companies have. But all the careers events I've attended, the children are waiting to hear what's out there, But if you're not out there, if this industry isn't out there, and so it's not really answering the question, but they don't know what's out there. So we have to get into them of where they could go with their an aeronautical degree, or what they could study at university that would have an impact on the planet. They're very conscientious, but they're not sure how their input or where they can go with all that. So I think it's down to the industry to get out to them, to let them know how their skills could be used and what they could study that would help that. We very quickly, we held a competition for some gliding times to fly some gliders, and it was all on sustainability, and we didn't judge it, so I didn't really see them, but it was fascinating, the ideas that these 14, 15-year-olds have, but where can they go with it? This is the issue that we have as a charity, is how do we, where do we send them?
So maybe since a lot of your comments referred a little bit to recruitment and attracting, maybe Arpad, although you are focused more on executives at the moment, maybe you have something to add a little bit on the comments that Kim made.
Yeah, definitely. I think being out there, being doing the outreach, going to schools and really engaging them at the earliest possibility, I think it's really important. But I would also mention, there's an aviation conference every week of the year.
That's true.
But what I don't see when I go to these events is the next gen. I think IATA is having their annual do at the moment in Istanbul at the moment. The price of a ticket is, the last time I checked, was around $50,000 if you're not an airline. I think making these things a little bit more accessible, actually encouraging people like the next gen sort of people who are either studying or who are currently deciding whether it's the right opportunity for them. I think to attend, I think that would be a good use of resources, time, energy, money, and all that, basically, so that they can really see what they can become. Because as I would agree with Kim, if you don't see what you can become, then you will never become that thing. So it's, I think you really need to make sure that you open up the doors a little bit more and really just encourage participation from a segment of society that might not have the means to attend an ACI event or an IATA event or an EASA event, and really enable them to ask questions, be there, see it for themselves, what they can do. It's all well and good to do these events for our own sort of benefit and meet old friends and make new ones, but that's certainly not the way to get in the next gen. That would be the thing I would add.
Can I just add something there?
Yes,
Sorry.
of course, please.
During COVID, obviously we were all locked down and ideas were sort of flowing through heads, and we came up with an idea and developed a travelling airport. And so, knowing that some children and some schools cannot have groups visiting airports, we now go in as an organisation with maybe an engineer, maybe a pilot, an air traffic controller, and we set up quite a big display in the hall, and throughout the day we would see 150 children, and we teach them marshalling, we teach them phonetic alphabet, very basic, very simple, as I say, the building aeroplanes. But it's just seeing that initial excitement when you ask the question of what jobs is there to get this aeroplane off the ground. They think pilot, co-pilot, and cabin crew, and that's generally about it. So we sort of touch on lots of different job opportunities there, but also, they don't put their hand up because they're not excited about aviation. But at the end, when you say who might be working in the industry, majority of 70% of the hands go up. Okay, we might not get those numbers, we probably won't, but it's, if we're taking it to them, there is a way of getting children excited, and I think it's the excitement at the age of 8, 9, 10 which then leads them to pick the correct subjects, to then choose their subjects for their next exams, from sort of 11, 12, 13, 14. So again, if you can't get children to airports, there are ways of taking aviation and everything that you want to tell them into the schools.
So maybe Rebekka, what would you, or how would you encourage people to join the industry? I call it industry, although you are a PhD student.
Industry is also academia. Industry is also
Exactly.
policy making, I guess.
Yeah.
Everything to do with aviation. Exactly. Yeah. So what I hear a lot is like making people know what there is by contacting, bringing children, but also young adults into contact with the industry. And I also saw some questions in the chat which pointed more towards like, why don't we collaborate more with schools, with universities, with other educational institutions, with the industry? And I think it's also something that we mentioned earlier, that we currently don't have the expertise at the universities to teach some subjects, for example, hydrogen planes. But if there's a company who is specialized in that, who would like to do, like, I don't know, do a project with the faculty about it, or in some sort of collaboration, then you have you get two birds with one stone, because you can get young people more expertise about specific subjects that are needed in the industry, and the industry gets more name. The people get more familiar with them. So it's not to make, of course, the educational institutions all about the companies, but specific subjects or specific skills could be beneficial for both of them if they collaborate more. And I actually really like the idea because, well, like I said, for myself, I got really enthusiastic about the subject when I visited the airports, when I worked together with them. That's when I knew, oh, what I'm doing is actually relevant and we can make a difference by doing this. And I was not from sitting in a lecture hall listening to somebody talk about, I don't know, aerodynamic flows, even though it's a very interesting subject. It's not what makes me so enthusiastic that I want to spend 4 years of my life doing a PhD.
Yeah, I think it echoes a little bit a comment that I see in the chat by Africa, at least a little bit, because and also Alexandre said it, that a lot of focus and emphasis are on very long-term goals, carbon neutral 2050 commitments, not so much on like also for younger people to have like an achievements not in 30 years and more efforts on the
like
short
what
term.
What can we do now?
Yes, exactly. I think
what
that's
what can I do to make a difference?
a common theme, I guess.
That's kind of a theme, yeah.
Because, well, I agree to that. Definitely true. So before we move to the Q&A, maybe I will go around the table with where you can maybe 1, 2, or 3 name the top areas, maybe to close it off, of, I guess, technical expertise, but also all the other expertises that you think are needed for the transition to sustainable aviation. I will start off by my top is Alexandre. Maybe just 1, 2, 3 words, and then we go to the Q&A.
Yeah, sure. So basically on the what kind of experience we're looking at in our industry. But basically there are several areas of expertise that we are looking at in aviation industry, especially on sustainability, and it was mentioned, I think, by Rebekka. But indeed, sustainability is not just about decarbonization in aviation. And when we talk about sustainability, yes, decarbonization, it's noise, air quality, biodiversity, circular economy, climate change adaptation as well. Like we're currently also confronted to the impact of climate change, and we also have to adapt. So I guess, I mean, when we talk about sustainability, it's important also to really understand the scope of what it means. And it's not only decarbonization, which is important, but there are a lot of other areas to be covered. So I would say in my view, the expertise that are important is expertise in energy and alternative fuels. I mean, if you want to focus on that, this will be crucial for the development of and the growth of aviation. Aerodynamics and aircraft design, but I think this is something more for indeed manufacturers. But then engineering, energy systems, sustainable urban planning as well are helpful. And last but not least, it's also about policy and regulations. So the transitioning to sustainable aviation will necessitate strong policy frameworks and regulations. So we also in need of people who can understand these regulations and support that. So yeah, this would be the let's say the main expertise that I would like to point out.
Thank you, Antoine. Maybe quickly.
Well, first of all, I would of course invite everybody to visit the website of Aero, so that you can see what kind of job offers that we have at the moment, and please do apply. We would welcome you with great pleasure. So my three words would be like, production engineers, certification engineers, and avionics systems engineers, as well as integration engineers. Just a very few words about that is because I forgot it to mention earlier, but one key aspect also of having like more efficient aircraft in terms of lightweight structures, but also in terms of advanced avionics is also a key aspect in reducing CO2 emissions. Because what we want is aircraft that can fly more direct trajectories in the air, and that can really have the most optimized path towards from the departure runway to the arrival runway. So it means having on board advanced equipment that can communicate with the ground and can also like help the pilot to take good decisions and also to communicate with the air traffic control in order to make sure that the aircraft is well fitted into the logic of the air traffic controller. So this is also very, very important, so that we fully grasp the potential of the technologies. And of course, electrifying the whole aircraft is also a great enabler to have like a lighter structure. So this is also where we are looking for talents in that area. So.
Great, thank you, Arpad. Maybe.
Yeah, I would not focus on roles specifically because I can't tell the future. But I think in terms of soft skills, what I'm seeing, particularly post-crisis, what are particularly relevant are gravitas, resilience. I think also your ability to be forward-thinking, look around the corner, what's coming. Adaptability, obviously. Composure, I think, is basically your ability to keep your emotions in check even in difficult times, is really important. Employers, no matter the sector, are looking for this. And most importantly, humility would be one of those soft skills that everyone is looking for at the moment. Again, irrespective of whether you're an engineer or a business person, I think these are good to have because they can distinguish you from the rest.
Yeah, I think it's also definitely important to name, because I think in the video we had it that my colleague said that sometimes the desired qualifications are a little bit too specific sometimes, and people are afraid to apply, and maybe having those soft skills then could mitigate those. Kim, please.
Okay, so I, from my point of view, I just feel it's really important to excite the next generation about the positivity of aviation, so they don't see it as a negative thing, and work them towards that. The main thing, I think, is for companies to work with local schools and local engineering companies. Careers teachers, especially in the UK, are crying out for people to do talks to their students, and I think if the schools knew of the companies and knew you were able to do that, they would literally bite your hand off, because it's what they call out. They love having people coming in, and generally it's online, so it's not even a lot of time, but just to talk about what's available in the industry and local company. And just as an example, we introduced our local engineering company with the company in Gloucestershire that are doing the hydrogen aircraft, and they've got a great connection now, and they're offering work experience and talking to them on a regular basis. So it does work. I think connect with local schools and universities as a company and get in there.
Okay, thank you. Then maybe Rebekka.
Yeah, specific skills, there are a lot of different ones, but I think for academia, for research, I think the most important skill is and will always be curiosity. Trying to find something new, being excited about the future, yeah, as Kim said. I think that's most important, and whatever other skills you have, you can find a fitting role, fitting job in that field.
All right, awesome. Thanks a lot. So we have 12 minutes. I will have a look at Slido. I will just start with the first question. This is also for you, Rebekka, a personal one. After finishing your PhD, where would you see yourself working? Industry, academia, research, or EASA? Something that's
Actually,
not named there.
I don't know yet. I love doing research at the moment. I have a lot of freedom. I can do what I want. I can research what I want. But I don't know if I finish my PhD, maybe I'm sick of the subject, or do I want to make a more direct impact going into policy making or regulations. I see myself doing actually all kinds of jobs when I finish.
I
For
see
now,
Antoine nodding, and he's also looking for talent, so maybe
I mean,
that goes for
noise,
everyone in the audience, I guess.
noise is really a key topic. There is plenty of things to do. Of course, you will be more than welcome in Aura because this is one of the big arguments we are bringing forward. But also on policy making, I mean, at international level, this is also something that we look very, very, very strongly. And I can tell you, I mean, around big airports that are really close to cities, I mean, noise is really, really a big topic at the moment. I know that for a fact that EU is investing a lot in research in the noise. Like I remember there is one slide about the DG RTD about research in aviation, which is full of projects on noise reduction. So I think you have the world open for you, huh, Rebekka? I think you have plenty of choice. So I understand that, yeah, PhD first, and then all doors will be open. So you don't have to worry too much.
So Antoine, also a question for you. You mentioned the US is doing more than the EU. Is that also a challenge that European talent maybe moves towards the US because they see a bigger chance for impact there?
It is totally the thing is like, so what we are good at the European level is to finance the research. We are putting like really good amount of money into the research, which is a very good thing. And then we are really good at driving the market, so adopting regulations that will de-risk investments and give the long-term direction for investment. But we're still missing a piece between these two. We're still missing the piece for the what we call in innovation the Death Valley, and the time between like the prototype, the research, the higher TRL, the maturation level of the research, and the time to market. So this is the industrialization part. So yeah, it's a big challenge for us. Is to make sure that we can have plants and manufacturing points in the EU, and that we address the full value chain of the talents in the EU. And I mentioned the US because they have quite an aggressive strategy at the moment, and we need to respond. It's ongoing, but I want to mention it because it's still not yet there. We should see during the summer some announcement which should be normally interesting about the Sovereignty Act of the European Commission, notably So it's to be seen, but at the moment it's lacking. And also I mentioned US, but there is also Middle East. Like the Middle East is putting a lot of money also in the investments for plants, but on plants that will be in the Middle East as well. So and not to mention China, but China is the different topic, because usually there are like some other concerns about China. So I put that apart. But Middle East and US, yes, of course. But it will be a loss for EU. I mean, for companies, they will still go for it because they want to bring the product on the market. But it will be a loss for the EU. So I'm not pessimistic, to be seen, but we have to act. In short.
Again, for Antoine and Alexandre as well, I have a question from Gary. Have the emissions trading scheme within the EU ETS, and of course there's CORSIA with the carbon offsetting mechanism, played a significant role in preparing the aviation sector for successful green transition, or like prior now to fully utilizing green aviation technology? I guess we already talked a little bit about it, also with the, of course, carbon offsetting, and I guess also the negative news that was in the last weeks on greenwashing and the carbon offsets. So maybe you have an opinion on that.
Maybe I can let Alexandre to come in because I need to charge my computer. So,
of course.
Yes, thanks. I mean, indeed. I think. Yeah, the EU ETS and CORSIA trigger the acceleration of. Towards energy transition, and also bridge the gap until breakthrough technologies and SAF became more widely available. I think there is also a need here, maybe for this EU ETS, and actually we we supported on the fact that there should be a phase out for aviation, so that we are submitted to ETS. But the thing is, here we want also to make sure that these revenues from ETS, from the auctioning of the allowances, should also be really earmarked and really driven to decarbonize the sector. I mean, it's only I would say it's really normal that actually the money from an industry remains in this industry to decarbonize itself. I mean, we need to support our industry with the money that that we create or we provide and we make available. So this is where I would maybe just point out is really, please let the money within the sector to also be used within the sector to decarbonize itself, because it's already it's already hard to to bring some investments with some uncertainties in the legislative frameworks to really reassure investors, etc., that actually there are green investments in our industry that are really worthwhile bringing the money onto the table. So that at least the money that we create, like, let's bring it on and then recirculate it within the industry to decarbonize.
Yeah, I could not say better. Fully agree. Indeed, this is where the money should be. This was one of the very good thing of the negotiation on this latest package at EU level. Is that the money from ETS would have to go would have to return to aviation to decarbonize itself, to finance the right trajectory of aviation to meet its European and international commitments. So indeed, it's a great thing. We need to make sure, indeed, like it's so. There are some ideas like that can that one of the ideas is to that this money could be directed to the innovation fund, but that would be also good that we could also use this as a sovereignty fund, also to make sure that also we keep the talents in the EU, that we offer opportunities to them in the EU, and that we provide the right product. And this is where also EASA has a big role to play, is to make sure that we will allocate the funds to the projects that have the best chance to be certified also. So I know there are already some work in ongoing. I think today this is where EASA and Clean Aviation have signed a MOU as well to make sure of that, to make sure that there is some direction given in where we need to invest. So yeah, fully that's going in the right direction. And yeah, at some point this plus RefuelEU as well, the other regulation that has been adopted very recently with the mandate of sustainable aviation fuel. It's shifting the market into the right direction. So that's a good thing.
Great, thank you. I have maybe I read out the comment by Africa because I think it relates a little bit to that. And she says, a lot of to be related with law and regulations. So aviation is a highly regulated sector, and when it comes to environment, it's already quite regulated and will be even more in the near future. I studied law, and I was lucky to get an internship in airline association. That was my opportunity to get involved in aviation, a sector that I always liked and never had the feeling it was a bad one to work for, but something it's sad to see happen now. Thank you for that. So there's a question by Anonymous for Antoine, but talking about EASA, so I guess the question is more for me. So I'm happy to answer that. So what are EASA's priorities to promote sustainability, especially CO2 emissions, pollution in the aviation sector? So just to name a few, EASA has the European Aviation Environment Report, which comes out every 3 years. The last one was last year, so we can look forward to the next one in 2025. I personally looking forward to writing it again because I was part of the SAF chapter. We have a lot of international cooperation projects actually that focus a lot on capacity building in European countries, but also in third countries. We are part of the ACT SAF program that was launched by ICAO. We are part also in the prepared for a very long name, the Renewable and Low Carbon Fuels Industrial Value Chain Alliance, where the maritime and aviation industry comes together and discuss and propose the way forward for fuels. We are part of the Aviation Zero Emissions Alliance. I hope I have it correctly. So and several research projects as well. And of course, we have our certification department focusing on noise and emissions. So just a quick overview. So we have 1 minute left. I think we have one question left.
There is a very good environment report from EASA also to
yes,
be
that's
read.
what I meant. Yes, it's very good.
Yeah.
I contributed. So,
voilà.
So just to.
But it's a very good piece of work.
But yeah, it's a great effort by everyone. So please go ahead and read it. I read it before my job interview and it helped me quite a lot because that's why I'm sitting here now. So last question by Anonymous. Given that no party hardly ever has enough resources, how can these new highly complex technologies be pushed through? Time to market essential for young companies. Delay by EASA can be an innovation killer. Can EASA prioritize resources according to criteria such as CO2 savings? So unfortunately, I am not a certification EASA expert, but I will be happy to push that forward to the colleagues. What I can say is we have pre-application services offered by EASA to external stakeholders that are interested in receiving technical advice services, basically prior to or outside of an actual certification process. So maybe that's something to look into. And as I said, I will be happy to send this forward. So we are already a minute overdue. Maybe just a quick recap. I hope so. Vera helped me with some notes. So I think we can summarize that aviation is maybe sometimes not communicating well as other industries towards younger generations to attract talent. What we also heard in the video, it's not only important to lure people into the industry, but also retaining people, as Daniel, my colleague, mentioned. I think that I think it was Arpad's comment, witnesses people from universities looking at other industries, which captivated the students' attention more, and a little bit refers also to the long-term thing, that the benefits or the efforts taken is basically are a lot of time focused on long-term effects. We need professors at university that know about novel technologies. Maybe that's something where guest professors and guest lecturers could play a role, I guess, especially from industry. We had a lot of personal stories about taking students to airports or going to airports themselves, showing how it is, which basically attracts the people quite a lot to join the industry. I guess the things that I asked at the end with the top expertise, of course, energy and alternative fuels, but still aerodynamics, aircraft design, policy and regulation, of course, engineering, production engineers, certification engineers, avionic engineers, but also soft skills, ability to be forward thinking, resilience, adaptability, humility, and I guess we need to excite the generation about the positivity that they could bring to this work, and of course curiosity. And I guess sometimes it's difficult today just being excited about the future. I guess we all read the news daily, and it's always sometimes not that good. Yeah, I think that's it. Thank you very much. I hope you had a great webinar, similar to I had a lot of fun. It was great to meeting you all, and I close this with a quick advertisement. We have a workshop coming up on hydrogen to discuss challenges associated to the use of hydrogen as an aviation fuel. It will be, I think, next week, if I'm not mistaken. You can find information on the website. It will be held in hybrid format, so you can also join via WebEx. It will be focused on, I think, in the morning on just CAAs, and then in the afternoon it's open to everyone for the industry. Thanks a lot, and have a good rest of the day. Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye.